Well, guys, we are back from TX2K. I'm a little tired, a little worn out, but I actually took today, Monday, off to kind of catch up because we got home at, I think, 2 or 2:30 and went to bed by 3, so I knew I was going to be pretty much useless today. Plus, had a lot of emails and orders over the week at 2K, and so I told everybody, I'm like, hey, give me till Monday, I'll get back to you, I'll get the orders placed and shipped out when I get back. So, been sifting through all that, but we're back from 2K. 2K was okay. I mean, it was TX2K. It always rains there. But we made some huge progress with Barry's car. This is the progress that I had anticipated to be doing, pretty much a year ago. But, when you're trying new things that aren't proven, that's just how it goes. So, I've already talked about this, I'm not even going to say it. So, the car's moving in the right direction, which is really exciting. It's doing stuff we thought it would do a long time ago, but we've worked through some issues, and where we're at now. So, I got a video before this that's kind of like the recap of 2K. But anyways, we're back from 2K, we're moving on. What's pretty crazy is the shop is literally empty besides 2 cars right now. And one is the Fox, and the other is a truck we're just waiting on to get tuned. But other than that, the shop is completely empty because we literally had every car picked up before we left. I think we had 7 or 8 cars total picked up, which was really cool. And we had, I think, was it 5 or 6 cars total at TX2K running around. Barry was the only one that did the track stuff, and everybody else kind of messed around in Mexico. But looks like everybody had fun. So we're back from 2K. It's time to make some progress on the Fox. So you guys saw the engine showed up, the engine bay's been painted, and it's time to assemble this thing. So really, all the main stuff is done, besides, I say the only last main piece that needs to be done is the wiring, because there's some small stuff like plumbing the car, obviously, like the fuel lines, the trans lines, the vac lines. That takes a day or two if you got all the stuff. And then had to finish wiring the car, but like I said, Joe's not wiring the car anymore how we fully anticipated to do it, just because of time. And so we ended up switching to a somewhat plug-and-play harness, which, things are never plug-and-play, but it'll save us a lot of time, and I'll be able to be running sooner. So then what we'll do is, towards the end of the year, when we pull the car apart to refresh it or whatever, we'll have Joe do a fully sealed harness, or I'll tear it all apart and do a fully sealed harness. But those things just take way too much time, and I'm so antsy to go racing. So I've already been patient enough. I'm ready to go racing. So the plan is start actually working on the Fox today. I want to get the engine in, so I'm going to unload Barry's car, pretty much unload the trailer, get the tools back into the boxes that we need, and then literally I plan to put the engine in the Fox today. I got to get it on the stand and swap oil pans and swap the pickup, because I don't know what it came with, but I switched to a Canton pickup because the stock pan just sits way too low. This car looks low in photos, but you don't realize it until you're actually standing next to it, or you have it next to another car. It is insane how low this thing is. And it looks really cool, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes. So the oil pan just sticks, it's just way too low. So we gotta swap the oil pan and the pickup, and then other than that, the engine came pretty much as a complete long block. I sent front cover, I purchased a front cover and valve covers and just had them powder coated while they were out at RPG. That way when it got to me, I didn't have to play too many games, just get it going. So the engine's here, trans is here, turbo kit's done. The last thing just do on the turbo kit is the downpipe, and that's only because we wanted to sit everything completely in there just to make sure there's no clearance issues. And then that's pretty much it. So we got to finish some wiring, plumb the car, and do the downpipe, and that's really it. So this week, today I plan to get the engine in there and bolt it up to the trans, and that way I can start assembling back the turbo kit and start laying the harness out, see what we need. So it's time to make some freaking progress on the Fox. I'm hoping within the next 3 to 4 weeks to actually be firing it up, and then pretty much just go testing after that. So we got Barry's car, obviously, and we're gonna unload it. It's going to get some maintenance done to it, but it's been holding up really well, knock on wood. So there's like a few small changes we're gonna make, and I'll probably talk about those in the later video because we're not gonna do those today. But let's get to the show. Alright, so making some slow progress on the Fox. Like I said in a previous video, I don't know if anyone was watching, but Joe originally was going to do a fully sealed harness like he did on the injectors, pretty much meaning like from connector to ECU, it's fully heat shrunk with boots and everything, like super nice. And this stuff, this isn't like hard, it is very, very, very time consuming because you know, the boots and the heat shrink and the labels, they all have to go on. So you have to know where each wire goes and have all that stuff on. And it's very time consuming. I've done it on like a few wires, probably not that intricate, but I've done it on like a few wires and it is such a pain to remember. Like, okay, I gotta have the heat shrink on, I gotta have the boot on, I gotta have the label on, and then I gotta actually pin the connector. And you're talking about doing that for everything. So I'm trying to get the car running as soon as possible. I want to be racing as soon as possible. You know, selling my car when it was in perfect running condition, and I took a pretty big step back. So I really want to get the Fox going, and now that the engine's here, I'm like, let's get this thing going. So probably in the future, like next year or like winter upgrades or something, I'll have Joe sit down and do a fully sealed harness, or I'll probably try it because I'm starting to learn more wiring here and there. I'm not near at Joe's level, but I got to start learning because Joe's not always going to be available. He's busy. He's got his own customers and some of our builds he's helping out with. So what I'm doing is pretty much using a plug and play engine harness from Holley and then kind of adapting it for the car. And actually that's what my old S550 has as well. Joe like wired up all the accessories, all the extra sensors, but for the engine side, we used a plug and play harness to save some time. And then obviously we have to cut connectors like, show you one for instance. Where is it hiding? I just moved all these too. I don't know where it went. It's hiding. Come here, little buddy. Why are you hiding from me? Anyways, like TPS has a different connector than what comes from the Holley, so I had to swap that one. And then the map is the same way, but like fuel pressure regulator sensor plugs in, oil pressure sensor plugs in. I'm gonna have to change the mat sensor. That one's also different. There's a few. There's not a ton. Like the crank sensor plugs in. The cam sensor. Now this is Gen 2, by the way. Crank sensor plugs in. Oh, here's the map sensor. So there's the map sensor. So this one, I did like a nice. Oh, I can't freaking see. A nice boot, nice heat shrink, and then a nice connector. So this is gonna be for map. So manifold absolute pressure. So yeah, just kind of working through getting all the connectors. Pretty much the engine side is done. Now this is what sucks about having a plug and play harness. Like I have all this extra harness and extra plugs that aren't used because it's meant for like literally to plug on a factory Gen 2. And like I'm not using idle air control valve. This is the mat, so this is another one I have to switch. I just don't have the connector yet. But you can see down there, I got my oil feed working, got oil pressure sensor down there, got the connector on that one. And then I bought this plug and play ignition coil harness, IGNA1 connector harness from Jolt Systems. So it's got like its own power source, it's got its own relays, so hopefully should be enough power for aftermarket coils. But yeah, so just kind of feeding everything through one of these little seals. Got it taped up because I don't want to scratch it when I was drilling the hole. But yeah, just literally working through that. And so pretty much right now the engine side of it is actually done besides like one connector. And then I got to move on to the inside, and this is kind of where like the real work takes place. So I got my carbon fiber board that I cut out. It's just going to hang right there. Just got riv nuts, pretty simple. And so I got the Holley Dominator Boostly street strip board to handle all the accessories and sensors and stuff. And you can see like there's just a ton of wiring, but a lot of that is actually, you know, like this stuff plugs right into the Holley, no big deal. These two connectors, that's kind of like your main engine harness. And then, you know, you got your relays and stuff, but pretty much the stuff that I'm gonna have to wire is like your power, your grounds, your trans brake solenoids. Yeah, anything that needs 12 volts or ground and needs a relay source. Gonna go the leash street strip board. I don't know if I showed this, but I did this a while ago. This is an electric master cutoff switch, and I got my main powers, main grounds, and obviously the main Holley power and ground goes straight to the battery. You always want to do that. Got chassis ground for the battery, and then I got these little terminals up there, and that's where I'm gonna run power and ground up to. That way I have power and ground in the car. So they're like way down there. It's probably not gonna focus. They're way down there. That way I've got 12 volt ground up here. So stuff that needs 12 volt, like starter, alternator, that type of stuff. And then anything that needs a ground can go to the little ground terminal. I got the Romac balancer on. I'm waiting on a crank stud to come in. So like I said, we're just working through the slow things. The engine's bolted up to the trans. We still got to put converter bolts in though. And then I haven't put the headers on yet because I need Joe to actually do the EGT bungs, and then I'll put the headers on and start putting everything back on. And then got these super nice, which we sell these, Billet Pro Shop EGT bulkheads. So these will also be drilled onto the firewall. Probably put them like one there, one on that side. And then I got these bulkheads for the puke tank. So same thing, I got a lot of stuff going on the firewall. One on each side probably. There's not a ton of room on the driver's side, but those bulkheads are gonna come off. So pretty much I got dash 16 bungs on there welded because the car is going to be on M1, so it's going to have a lot of crankcase that needs to go to the puke tank. So I'm going to run that, and I already have the hoses. They're kind of just tied up. They're just kind of waiting, but we got the puke tank back there. So yep, just working through the wiring, and yeah, hopefully she'll be running soon. All right, we interrupt this message to show you the new shirt. EPA is the enemy on the front with the turbo. And then just a Coyote direct on the side, nothing on the back.
I forgot.
Sheesh. Okay, back to your regular scheduled programming. Woo!
Order one.
Yeah, you are. All right, so it probably looks like we haven't made any progress, or I haven't made any progress, just wiring this myself. But this whole wiring thing just takes absolutely forever. So, and it's probably, you know, it's not going to be near Joe's quality because it's my first one, but we're making progress. So pretty much all the engine side stuff is done. I think I showed that before. Then I added the laser ride height sensor. I wired up the fan. I got coolant pressure sensor. Just waiting. I need a fitting for that. And then, yeah, pretty much like all the engine side stuff, like I said, is done. Now, the biggest hurdle is working on the inside stuff. I wish I would have taken a photo yesterday. I mean, it was really filled with wires. So, kind of emptied now. Still got a lot of wires to go, and that's just because of all the add-ons. So we've got the injector driver module because we're running 16 injectors, and then, or sorry, this is the injector driver module for 16 injectors, and then we got the EGTs so that we can read the EGTs. That's really good data. After putting that on Barry's car, realized how important that data is, and then got the solid state relay for the trans brake, and then we got the boost leash street strip board, or leash, sorry, not boost leash. Been doing too many boost controls. It's got the leash street strip board, and then that's the lightweight Dominator. So it looks like a ton of wires, but trust me, there was like triple of these yesterday. So I'm trying to make some progress here. Pretty much the last things I have to do, I've wired up like a lot of the ignition and battery stuff. Last things I have to do is pretty much do the trans brake, do the actual harness for the injector driver module, and then the EGTs, you don't really do much wiring. It's pretty much plugs into the bulkheads I got for them. So not much there. I got like a power and a ground stud behind there that pretty much is taking the power and ground for everything. And then obviously some stuff like the Holley, you have to run directly to the battery, so that's plugged in over there. And I think the injector driver module also goes directly to the battery, so I need to run that harness back here, the power harness. And then some of the stuff like rear shock sensors, I haven't actually mounted them. I need to just put a DTM connector on them, and then they'll plug in. But I got, you can see like the harness is laying there, so that's, you know, that stuff's pretty easy to get done. But just trying to work through it. It's a lot wiring a car from scratch. So I tried to use a plug-and-play engine harness from Holley for this car, but since we're not using a lot of things, and a lot of the connectors are different, like the TPS sensor is different, and then some of the sensors I'm using is different. I should have just done a complete harness from scratch like Joe was going to do. I just thought it would save me some time, but it really didn't save that much time because I had to change a lot of the ends on the connectors. So there's a couple more sensors I got to order to keep this thing going. Probably need like, I think three or four more sensors we were missing. And then after the wiring, so I think I probably have like a week, maybe a little longer than a week to tidy up the wiring. I didn't get to wire it today because worked on a customer car, and then I finally rented out my old shop, which I'm gonna make a video on that, but I finally rented that out, and so I had to clean everything out today. So I didn't get any work on this today. I got a lot done yesterday, so hopefully throughout the week and then next weekend I'll get a ton done. And then once that's done, I can start plumbing the fuel system, doing the lines for the gates, vacuum line for the blow-off valve, regulator. That stuff's pretty easy. It still just takes time. So making some pretty good progress. I'm pretty happy with it. And the freaking engine looks so sick in there with the manifold and everything blacked out. So yeah, I'm excited to put the turbo kit on. I'm just waiting because I know I need all the space to run all the wiring and stuff, and then I'll put the turbo kit back on last. So, but we've made some huge progress. So pretty excited. All right, guys, closing out the video. Started the wiring on the Fox. I think I'm about 60%, maybe a little more through. Like I said, I've never done it before from scratch like this, so I'm just learning as I go. Joe's giving me a few pointers here and there, but I'm kind of just attacking it and figuring it out. And it's probably not going to turn out the best, but this is how you start to learn things. So I'm trying to learn new things this year. I've got like a few things on my table, and this is one of them. So I'm going to learn. So hopefully in the future I can do some more. And I got some other things I'm trying to learn, trying to grow Coyote Direct in other ways. So just trying to learn new things and making sure we're always learning. And if someone tells you they know everything, well, then they're lying to you. That's the thing with me, is I'm up front with everybody. I'm like, I don't know everything. I'm going to be totally honest with you. But at least I'm going to be honest with you and tell you. So a lot of things I'm still learning. And if, to evolve, you have to always be learning. So hopefully you guys liked that video. The Fox is coming along pretty good. Still got some of these Army Coyote Direct hats on the website if you want them. And then we have those new EPA's The Enemy shirt, which I think is freaking awesome. Check them out. They're in stock, ready to go. See you guys on the next one. Oh, shoot. The whole point of this. The next video, I'm going to announce the Turbo Kit giveaway winner. Finally. Got it and ready to announce it. See you guys in the next one.